Hi, my name is Victoria. I am a senior health science major here at Lee University, and I am a part of the McNair Scholars Program. Last summer, I got to work with Dr. Pamela Hobbs on a research project about the effect of COVID-19 on the mental health of college students, specifically Lee University students. I have presented this research in poster format in the past, so I wanted to provide that for you, but I will be breaking down the information across the following slides to make it easier to follow. COVID-19 has impacted the world in many ways, leading researchers to be interested in the virus's relation to mental health among various settings. In particular, the government-imposed social restrictions created due to the pandemic exposed many individuals to an unprecedented stress, increasing mental health concerns worldwide. With that in mind, repeated isolation due to quarantining and virtual school platforms created a change in academic approach for students across campuses. Since being confined to home and/or workplaces during the pandemic has been repeatedly linked to depression and anxiety, it is also thought that the pandemic has had a negative influence on the mental health of college students, which makes us wonder what that could mean on our campus. Due to the recency of the pandemic, there is limited information available when researching this topic, yet we did find an article about another university, Texas A&M, that published some interesting information about the mental health status of their students to be used for comparison. Based on their sample size, which is relatively proportional to the sample size in our study, 48.14% of their students showed a moderate to severe level of depression, and 38.48% showed a moderate to severe level of anxiety during a semester of college in the pandemic. Most participants indicated that their stress or anxiety levels had increased during the pandemic, and less than half declared that they were able to cope adequately with that stress. In addition, 90.74% of participants could agree that they had difficulty concentrating on their academic responsibilities. These results reflect students of a large campus whose students had to move to online platforms to finish out their semester in 2020. Our study was conducted through a survey we formulated in the online platform SurveyMonkey. Students across Lee University's campus were sent an email asking for their voluntary participation during the summer session of 2021 to be asked about their 2020-2021 academic year. The survey gathered 268 responses within a week's time. As these figures show, respondents were from a variety of majors and were mainly upperclassmen. Questions in the survey focused on the motivation, sleep patterns, and physical activity levels of students, while asking if students believed they looked after their mental health well and ways in which they did so. We also embedded the same patient health questionnaire used for scoring depression severity in the Texas A&M study. After scoring student responses to the patient health questionnaire, we found that 45.51% of our sampled students fell in the moderate to severe depression severity range. We sought to compare the depression severity results in the previous slide to the reported average hours of sleep by students. There was a weak correlation found between increased depression severity and hours of sleep, although 78.36% of students agreed that they felt sleepy or unfocused in class, of which 45.52% attributed to the pandemic. We also thought it would be important to consider what students believed was most motivating to them among a list of prime motivators. As you can see, 74.25% of students agreed that they were greatly motivated by a self-drive to succeed. As for physical activity, 57% of students agreed that their physical activity levels were typical for the school year, and very few students reported a decrease in physical activity as being a direct issue for them in relation to the pandemic. The most rewarding part of this research process was being able to read through the open-ended responses of students because of the personal connection that can be made. Some of those responses are listed here. The first response says, "It was really hard to stay positive and motivated. I didn't have many ways to encourage myself, and it really didn't help that I felt so isolated. Having my family so close to campus and being able to see them helped take care of my mental health the most." The following student adds, I made sure to keep in touch with family and friends and be with people often in order to take care of mental health. I also took time to dive deeper into my relationship with God. Another student shares, "We were able to have a school year and opportunities that many other colleges could not have due to the pandemic. I was so thankful to go to a smaller Christian school during the pandemic because we were able to stay in person for most of the time and still be in community with one another." Continuing on, a student says, "I was driven through the school year by my excitement to do my cross-cultural trip, but that got canceled due to COVID-19. I wish I had done it before COVID-19, since I graduate this month. This affected my motivation and depression." On that note, the following student adds, "There were lots of things that we could not do because of the pandemic. Greek life was huge for me and was the main reason I got connected to Lee, and it was taken away." Lastly, a student shared, "I am already an anxious person, so the social isolation and restrictions of the pandemic heightened these feelings, yet it also pushed me to try therapy, although I only went a few times. I felt very stuck, especially in the fall semester." As you can see, students seem to find an important connection between the pandemic and their college experience. Additional findings can be found on this slide. 47.39% of students agreed their class effort did not change. 54.48% of students agreed that their future goals were not affected by the pandemic. 63.64% of students felt that the changes made to their learning environment to accommodate COVID-19 guidelines negatively affected their academic potential. 84.70% of students agreed that they prefer to have class in person. 45.08% of students said contracting or passing COVID-19 to others worried or stressed them in a way that was distracting to their success. 68.56% of students agreed that social media and news outlets negatively affected them, adding to their stress because it constantly reminded them of the pandemic. 19.61% of students mentioned that starting and/or continuing therapy was important for their mental health. 65.73% of students believe that being at a Christian university made their college experience different from other college students' experiences, whether that be because of the atmosphere or being able to be in person. Findings conclude that although most students said that their academic year was not affected by COVID-19 in a drastic way on the university's campus, students still agree that their college experience and outlook on mental health was influenced by the pandemic in some aspect or another. Many students who found themselves isolated and/or unable to attend events or class started to better value the relationships in their lives, took time to reflect and rest, appreciated being in person and face-to-face, and/or sought guidance or therapy. We believe this topic has been a relevant and needed topic for discussion, and we are hopeful that this information provides small universities a better understanding of their student experiences, and that students are able to move forwards with a healthy mindset. For more information, you can access our full article in the McNair Scholars Program 2021 Academic Journal by clicking on the link embedded here or by visiting the Lee University website. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope this information was valuable to you and that you have a wonderful day.